In this video, I will show you how to take the equation of a parabola that is not in standard form and rewrite it in standard form. Standard form for a parabola looks something like this if it's vertical, and it's going to look like this if it's horizontal. So just notice that sometimes the y part of the equation is squared, and sometimes the x part is squared. And that's what determines whether it will be vertical or horizontal. We are going to be completing the square to make this happen. So the first thing you should do is pay attention to which variable is squared. See how I have x squared? That tells me that I'm going to be shooting for this version of the equation, all right, where the x is squared, which means I need all the y stuff, the y terms, to be on the right-hand side of the equation. So because the x is squared, I'm going to keep these terms over here on the left, but I'm going to move this over to the right. So that's going to give me x squared plus 6x, I'm going to leave space to complete the square, is equal to positive 8y minus 25. I had to add 8y to both sides, so positive 8y. Now I'm going to complete the square to get the parentheses that I need. So I complete the square by doing half the middle squared. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to put a plus 9 right here. Right away, I need to add 9 to the opposite side in order to balance that out. By completing the square, I've created a problem that will factor as the same thing twice. So this is going to factor as x plus 3 times x plus 3. So this is going to give me 8y minus 16. I'm just combining like terms over here. Okay, because this is the same binomial twice, I can write x plus 3 squared. And next time I might skip this step and go straight to this. I don't know. So I have the first set of parentheses that I need. I have this part. Notice we have parentheses over here too. So I need to factor this 8 outside of parentheses. So I'm going to pull out the 8, and that's going to leave y minus 2 behind. And now we've done it. This is the standard form equation of this parabola. Okay, what are they going to ask us? Oh, I guess I need to write that down here. So I'll write it again. So x plus 3 squared is equal to 8 times y minus 2. The vertex is going to be the opposite of this, comma, the opposite of this. Be careful of the order, because it will not always be in the same order that the equation is written in. Make sure that the x-coordinate comes from the x part of the equation. So I will have negative 3 because of the positive 3. I will have positive 2 because of the negative 2. All right, the p-value. Well, we know that 4p is equal to this number right here. 4p is equal to 8. So dividing both sides by 4, that gives me p equals 2. Okay, let's do that again. Notice this time the y is squared. So we're going to keep the y terms over here on the left, and we're going to move the x term to the right. So I will have y squared plus 2y, leave a space to complete the square, is equal to positive 10x minus 1, because I added the 10x to both sides. Now I'm going to complete the square. Half of 2 is 1. I'm doing half the middle squared. So half of this is 1. 1 squared is still 1. I need to add 1 to the other side in order to balance that out. Okay, this is now going to factor as y plus 1 times y plus 1. Okay, because I just have a monomial over here, I don't need to factor anything outside of parentheses. So I'm ready for my final answer. Because I have y plus 1 twice, I can go ahead and write y plus 1 squared is equal to 10x. Now the vertex is going to be the opposite of this, comma, the opposite of this. Well, I shouldn't have said comma. It's going to involve the opposite of this and the opposite of this. But the order I must be very careful about because this is backwards. The x part is over here and the y part is over there. I need to get the x coordinate from the x part of the equation. The x coordinate will be 0 because there's nothing being added or subtracted. All right? For example, if this was x minus 3, then this would be a 3. But there is nothing added or subtracted, so that tells you that it's 0. The y value is going to come from here, the opposite of this. So 0, comma, negative 1. What about the p value? Well, we know that 4p is equal to this number right here. 4p equals 10. Dividing both sides by 4, that gives me that p is equal to 10 over 4. This reduces down to 5 halves, so that's p. Okay, look at number 9. Pay attention to which variable is squared. The x is being squared. So I'm going to keep the x terms on the left side of the equation, and I'm going to move everything else to the right. So I'm going to have x squared minus 2x, leave space to complete the square, is equal to negative 8y minus 33. Now it's time to complete the square. Half the middle squared. Half of this is negative 1. Square it, and you've got positive 1. I immediately need to add 1 to the other side to balance it out. All right, so this is going to factor down to x minus 1 twice. And combining like terms here, I've got negative 8y minus 32. Okay, putting these together, I'm going to have x minus 1 squared. So I can write this as x minus 1 squared. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to factor out the negative 8 outside of parentheses. So if I create my parentheses and I factor out the negative 8, what's that going to leave on the inside? That's going to make y plus 4. Now think about it. Imagine doing the distributive property back again. Negative 8 times y would give you negative 8y. Negative 8 times positive 4 would give you negative 32. So it makes sense that it's a positive 4. All right, the vertex is going to be the opposite of this and the opposite of that. Be careful of the order. The x coordinate comes from the x part, so negative 1. Whoops. I did say the opposite, didn't I? The x coordinate should be positive 1, the opposite of this. The y coordinate should be negative 4, the opposite of that. The p value. We know that 4p is equal to this number, negative 8. Dividing both sides by 4 gives me p equals negative 2.